ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. In the last reading class, we left at page 460 of this Ramakrishna, the Great Master book, part 1. And we will now continue from the same place where we left. We were reading about Girish Chandra Ghosh resigning himself and taking refuge in Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna asking him to follow some simple spiritual practices for getting out of his spiritual degradation. So the same subject continues. We will start reading from page 460. Finding that Girish remained silent, the master looked at him and, knowing his thoughts, said, "Very well, if you cannot do that, remember him once before taking food and once before going to bed." We remember in the last reading class, Sri Ramakrishna has proposed to him, you think about God. That means you contemplate on God once in the morning and once in the evening, daily, regularly. So Girish was thinking that he cannot promise. His nature was like that. At the same time, his mind was so extrovert. He could not be regular in such practices. So he was just in a quandary what to reply. At that juncture, Sri Ramakrishna himself guessed his quandary, his confusion in the mind. So he comes with another proposal. And that was, you don't have to pray and meditate and do all that twice in a day. Just remember him once before taking food and once before going to bed. Remembering God. So, "Oh Lord, you are my protector. Please save me. I am in need of moksha. I am in need of eternal joy of you. You please save me." Like this, once remember. Before food, in the morning, and before going to bed. 2 times if you remember. So maybe one minute in the morning and 1 minute in the evening. 2 minutes. So this is this second proposal by Sri Ramakrishna. Girish continued to be silent. Girish was unable to answer yes or no. There was some problem with this proposal also. He asked himself if he could do even that. He took his food at 10 a.m. on some days or at 5 p.m. on others. If he becomes busy, he would not find time until 5 p.m. and morning food he is taking at 5 p.m. And there was the same irregularity about his night meals. Night meals, suppose he was taking at 10 o'clock in the night, perhaps he may be taking at 1 o'clock or may go without the meals itself. There were days on which, although he was taking his meal, he was not at all conscious of the fact, on account of troubles and worries regarding the cases pending in the courts, such as that he had no information whether the fees sent by him to the barrister had reached him in time, and how it would be a calamity indeed if he did not appear at the time when the case was to be taken up, and so on and so forth. These were the thoughts of Girish. So he cannot be sure that when he goes to bed and when he takes his food, so this taking once the name of God before the food and before going to bed was also a big problem for him. If, however, such days repeated themselves, and this was not impossible, he would surely forget to remember and think of God on those occasions. So he would fail to keep his promise if he says now yes to this proposal. Alas, the master was asking him to do such an easy thing. and yet he could not say that he would do it. Girish was in a very sorry plight and remained motionless and speechless, naturally. But there raged, as it were, a storm of anxiety, fear, and despair in his heart. The master looked at Girish again and said smilingly, "You will say, I cannot do even that. Very well. Then give me the power of attorney." The master was then in a state of divine semi-consciousness, divine ecstasy. What is this power of attorney? Power of attorney means transfer your responsibility. When one person transfers the power of managing one's worldly affairs to another person, the latter transacts all business, grants receipts, carries on correspondence, and signs all documents on the principal's behalf. So, power of attorney means that if you give the power of attorney to the lawyer, whatever he does is what you have done. You cannot afterwards say, I have not done it. You have given the power of attorney. Suppose he does something wrong. You cannot say, no, I didn't tell him. No, power of attorney you have given. So what he does it, what he does not, there is nothing is written there. Whatever the lawyer does is what you have done. If he has done something wrong, and if a wrong judgment comes, if the judgment goes against you, you have to suffer for it. You can't say, no, I did not mean it. I did not tell him. The lawyer had told you something which I have not told him. No, you can't say anything. A lawyer becomes yourself. You are nobody there. You become a nobody. And the person to whom you give power of attorney, he becomes everything. He will be your second self. So the master was then, when he said this one, give the power of attorney. Then he has state of divine semi-consciousness. That means he is uttering this one from a higher level of his mental state. From a divine state he is telling it. God himself is speaking through his mouth, as it were. This was to Girish's liking. The state of Girish's mind after he gave the power of attorney. This was to Girish's liking. When he said, give the power of attorney, Sri Ramakrishna said, then Girish liked it. It's very good now. I give the power of attorney to him, then he will do whatever is necessary for me. I have to do nothing. His mind was now calm, and there swelled in his heart an infinite onrush of love for and reliance on the Master for his infinite grace. You see, Master, knowing that he was a sinner, knowing he was an evil doer, and there was no end to his evil doing, not only what he has done, but he even presently is continuing it. So he has asked for power of attorney. He is ready to take all my sins, all my bad doings. So he was the reliance on the Master for his infinite grace. He felt relieved that the bondage of rule, which was a terror to him, was now gone forever. He was not ruling him. He was not compelling him to do 2 times prayer or 1 time prayer. So he was not asking anything, no rule at all. Simply, you give me the power of attorney. He said, if I give, then I am not bound by any rule also. And then all my sins will go to him. And I will be scot-free. And I will attain to God without doing anything. That was the point of joy for him. It was now sufficient to have the firm faith that whatever he might do, the Master would save him some way or other by his divine power. He thought like that. Giving the power of attorney a bondage of love. Giving the power of attorney to the Master meant then to Girish nothing more than this, that he would not have to give up anything by means of personal efforts or to bother about spiritual practices, and that the Master would remove the last vestige of worldliness from his mind through his own powers. That was what Girish thought. He would not have to do any spiritual practices, and then he would not have to struggle to do anything. Only he will think that Sri Ramakrishna is doing everything for me. Then all his worldliness will go, and then he will attain to the highest spiritual good. That was what he was thinking about. But he did not then realize that he had put voluntarily around his neck a noose of love, 100 times stronger than the bondage of rule, which he thought was so unbearable. If he had ordered you do this one or do that, so it should be limited order. But this giving up power of attorney means it was a noose which had no end at all, that was binding him all the time. The other bondage would be for a particular time only, maybe a particular period, a few years. But this is lifelong. So you must go on thinking, oh, he is my doer, I cannot do, I am not the doer, he is the doer, I am not the doer, he is the doer. In every action you have to think like that. So it was a noose of a very, very difficult type. Nor had he did not then did sufficiently deep, nor had he the power then to realize that whatever be the circumstances, good or bad, he might find himself in, whatever be the fame or infamy that might attend him, however agonizing be the pain or misery that dogged his steps, he had nothing more to say or to do than to bear them all without a murmur. So he had to bear with them, bear and bear and bear with them, whether good or bad, under all circumstances. What his condition was should not matter. He has to bear, that's all. There is no other way. Because everything is being done by Sri Ramakrishna. So what has he got to complain? What has he got to worry about? What has he got to get depressed by? So this was the condition to which, he had given his consent. All other thoughts vanished from his mind, and he was feeling the endless grace of Sri Ramakrishna. In fact, a new ego rooted in Sri Ramakrishna was born and was fast developing in him. A spirit of divine defiance of the world came upon him, and he thought that whatever the world might speak of him, even if it despised him, it was quite immaterial, for the Master was undoubtedly his in all circumstances and at all times. How could he then know that the constant feeling of this new egoism is regarded in devotional scriptures as a kind of spiritual practice and comes to human beings, they say, from an abundance of good fortune? So he did not know anything about the scriptures, about this Sharanagati, this taking refuge, or what Sri Ramakrishna said, give me the power of attorney. Giving the power of attorney to God is what we call in the scriptures Sharanagati, taking complete refuge under the feet of God. Girish, however, was now free from anxiety, and while eating, drinking, or being engaged in any other activity, he had but one thought. That is, Sri Ramakrishna had taken upon himself all his responsibility. All the while he is thinking that Sri Ramakrishna is doing everything for himself. A soothing thought, a balm to his mind, which, though its deepening impression was gradually gaining mastery over his whole being and involuntarily making him meditate on the Master, thus bringing about a revolution in him, in all his thoughts and actions. You see, while eating he is thinking, oh, Sri Ramakrishna has taken all my responsibility. So everywhere, every time he is going on thinking of Sri Ramakrishna. So he was in a way thinking of Sri Ramakrishna, is meditating upon him. So meditating on Sri Ramakrishna, morning till evening, in every action, he is thinking, oh, Sri Ramakrishna has done this for me, has done this for me. And so this continual thinking of Sri Ramakrishna purifies his mind and brings out a revolution in transforming him from a sinner to a saint. He was happy, though he did not understand all that, for he thought, was it not a fact that he loved him and was more than his own? How Girish was taught thenceforward. Then how did Sri Ramakrishna guide him? The master always taught that nobody's spiritual attitude of mind should be interfered with. This was one of the great teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. Don't interfere with anybody's mood. A devotee, a jnani, or a yogi, or a karma yogi, they have their own faith. So don't interfere with that attitude or faith. And he used to act accordingly in his daily dealings with devotees. He would take them in their own way, their own path, not by some other path. Knowing well Girish's spiritual mood, he began to give instructions from then on in accordance with that mood. One day when Girish said, in the absence of the master, I will do it in respect of a trifling matter, the master remonstrated, suddenly saying, what is that? Why do you thus say, I will do it? Suppose you cannot do it, what then? You should say, I shall do it if God so wills. Girish on his part felt, this is quite right. I completely placed on God all my responsibility and he has accepted it. I can do a thing if only he thinks it proper and good for me and allows me to do so. How can I do it by my own power? Realizing this, he gradually gave up such words and ideas as I will do it, I will go, and so on. He could not use I. He has only say God. So I will do it, no, God will do it for me. So I want to do this one. No, if God wills, so I can do this one. So without the thought of God, he cannot think about himself. So his I has been displaced by God's consciousness. Girish understood the deep significance of giving the power of attorney. When he came to realize all these implications slowly in his life, then he understood the real significance of giving power of attorney or Sharanagati. Thus, days rolled on and at last the master passed away. He passed away on August 16th of 1886. Sri Ramakrishna passed away in Mahasamadhi. So Girish met with various calamities. Example, the death of his wife, son and others, one after another. He lost his wife, lost his son and relatives, but his mind began to assert every time, Sri Ramakrishna is allowing these events to happen. I have taken refuge under him. Whatever is happening to me is all by his will only. So Sri Ramakrishna has taken away my wife. He has taken away my son. Why should I grieve for that now? So it is his right. If he thinks that it is their time they should leave the world, he has taken it. What have I got to complain? So he could not even grieve for his wife, grieve for his son, only because they are good for you. And whatever he does for me is good for me. Therefore, I should not grieve, but I should accept it as it is. You have transferred your responsibility to him, and he has accepted it. He is telling his mind. But he has given you no assurance regarding the path along which he will take you. So he will be responsible for everything in your life, not only for the good that comes to you, but the bad that comes to you also. So he will be responsible. So you should not grieve for the difficulty that come in your life. That's the meaning of taking refuge. Knowing that this path is easy for you, he is leading you along it. So this passing away of the relatives and the depression that is coming upon you on that one, the sadness that is troubling you, all this is good for you. That's why he has given you. You have no reason to say no or repine for it. Were they then empty words that you gave him the power of attorney or transferred your responsibility to him? Thus, as more and more days passed, the hidden meaning of giving the power of attorney was more and more realized by Girish. Was its meaning completely understood even at last? Asked about it, Girish said, much remains to be understood even now. Till the end of his life he has been practicing giving power of attorney. He says, I have not understood what more is waiting for me, by which I have to do that my surrender of my will to him. As every difficulty comes, I surrender my reaction to God himself. I do not take it upon myself. I surrender all my feelings to God. So what more is awaiting? I do not know. So he says, so some more, there is no, I now find that at some time there is an end to the spiritual practices like japa, austerities and devotional exercises. But there is no end to the work of a person who has given the power of attorney. You see, one does japa, meditation, etc. until one gets the realization of God. But in the giving of power of attorney, so you must go on practicing it. There is no end to it, because there is no measure. He has not prescribed only for 3 years you practice this, or 5 years you practice this. So Girish understands all this. For the person who has given the power of attorney, he has to watch every step and every breath to know whether he does so depending on him and his power or on his wretched eye. So Girish comes to know the deeper and deeper meaning. It is the incarnates alone that can accept the power of attorney. Many times we think we can also give power of attorney to our guru, but all gurus cannot take the power of attorney from any of his disciples, however good he may be. So here the author says, it is the incarnations alone that can accept the power of attorney. Many thoughts occur to our mind in connection with accepting the power of attorney. We find in the history of the world that it is great souls alone, such as Lord Jesus, Chaitanya and others, who sometimes gave assurance of this kind to some people. Ordinary teachers have no power to do so. Ordinary gurus cannot do this. They can at the most teach others the mantras, particular ceremonial functions, etc., with the help of which they themselves made spiritual progress. The person who approaches the guru, he is asked to recite mantras, sing glories of God, or perform some rituals also in glory of God. Slowly his mind is purified, he is rid of his sins, and he may get enlightenment. This is what the ordinary gurus can do. They cannot say, I have taken all your sins, go scot-free. Nobody can say that. Or they can attract people towards purity by living pure lives themselves. So the ordinary gurus, they show their own lives. They live a very pure and disciplined life. By that also, the students, they learn and they progress in life, and then they may attain to the enlightenment. But when paralyzed by various kinds of worldly bondage, man reaches the state of complete helplessness, and when asked to do even a trifling thing, he pleads his inability to do and asks for help in utter despair. It is beyond the power of ordinary teachers to help him. So all cannot just think, so we can take the power of attorney from our disciples. He is feeling very bad. He says he can't do anything. He may be, but you have no power. Nobody is powerful enough to take away the sins of others. Only God can do it. Only. Even his direct disciples also cannot do it. Only the incarnation alone can do it. So the author is very explicit in that saying, only God can do it. He pleads his inability to do it and asks for help. Only even then, ordinary teacher cannot help him. It is beyond the power of any man to say to another that he would take upon himself all the responsibility for the latter's evil actions, and that he himself would experience the results on the latter's behalf. No ordinary guru can tell this. It is when such a decline of spirituality is manifested in humanity that the Lord, out of His grace, incarnates Himself and suffers the results of man's evil actions on his behalf and saves him from the constraint of that bondage. So, God wants to demonstrate that there is no one whom He cannot redeem. He can redeem the worst sinner and make him into a saint. Only He can do it, nobody else. God has got the power. So when we come to know this fact about God, that we may be that person who will really redeem. So otherwise, when we compare ourselves with these sinners like Girish, our sins, our mistakes are nothing. We get courage. When Girish can be relieved and redeemed from his sins and evil doings and attain to that high state of spirituality, can we not? God is so gracious. To a person like Girish, will He not be graceful to me? Certainly He will shower His grace upon me. All the other seekers also will get encouraged by these incidents of taking the power of attorney by the incarnations. They do it. In every incarnation, they do it. First, in the incarnation of Jesus, He took many people's sin upon Himself and then atoned for it. Chaitanya also took the sins of Jagai Madhai, famous ruffians who had committed all sins. He made them saintly people. In the incarnation of Sri Ramakrishna, Girish is the example. He has set before us, God can redeem any worst sinner also. There is hope for every creature for the highest attainment. Only you have to pray to God, who is our own, soul of our soul. He is our own father, He is our mother. That is Sri Ramakrishna's exhortation of God again and again. God is your own, is not anybody else. He is your own father, your own mother. Force your demands upon Him and He will certainly listen to that. So, nobody else can do it. Only the Master used to say in this connection, man finishes the experience of 10 lives in one by the incarnation's grace. So incarnations alone can do this one because it is their law, it is their will that acts as the law of karma. The law of karma, the law of actions. Whatever action we do, we have to reap the fruits of it, good or bad. Nobody can break this law because it is divine law. And God alone can break it because it is His law. A maker of law can break it also. The parliament can make a law. Parliament can abrogate it also. Only parliament can do it. No other body can do it. So like that, God Himself can break His law and then allow a sinner go scot-free. But God also does not do like that. Sri Ramakrishna shows in his life. Later on we read that one. He himself says, I am suffering for the sins of Girish Ghosh. Other great incarnations also suffer. They take the sins upon themselves. They atone for them. That is called the vicarious atonement. Vicarious suffering. For somebody else, they suffer. And that other person goes God-free. So, this great truth of spiritual life, they taking refuge in God and get released from some unmanageable sins unmanageable evil doings is demonstrated in the life of great people like this. Sri Ramakrishna in his life has given us an example of Girish Chandra Ghosh. So, similar instances, now Sri Ramakrishna tells us what happened to him after Girish became a saintly person, got rid of all his sins through this giving the power of attorney. We are going to read it in our next reading class. Till then, we will take leave of us. O Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampadhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. O Ramakrishna, the taintless one, the eternal one, the one with infinite forms, the one who has assumed form for his devotees, the incarnate Supreme Soul, and the adorable Lord of all, we salute thee with our heads down. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.